Is there any public comment?
Yes, I have public comment.
Make sure it's on.
All right,
State your name.
I'm Jerry Cooper, I'm the electric superintendent here with the village. I just wanted to come up and use some of your guys' time and talk to you guys about the department that I lead. And I had talked to, I think Kelly before when she was on the HR committee about the pay and pay structure. But I wanted to come give you guys some new information I had from the village of Blanchester. I'll go ahead and hand these out to you. And the papers you have in your hand there, this is an example of their pay scale. I highlighted the electric, but it has the other departments on it too. And if you flip through it, you have it 2023, 2024, and then I have a memorandum from 2028 that I had found a few years back. And I just compared wages from 2018 in their position L. If you look on their scale, across the top, it has codes. It went from $36 an hour in 2018 for this position to $50 an hour. Now, I mean, that's a significant pay increase. Not necessarily asking for $50 an hour, obviously, for that position, but parallel the villages. If you I did some research on us and on Blanchester, called their electric superintendent. They're actually employed 5 employees also, as well as we do. And their population is very similar. We're 4453 per Google on the 2021 census. On the 2021 census for Blanchester, it's 4230. And I looked up their electric usage and everything, even through AMP. We're really close on usage meters, the size of as many meters as we have. We have 2,175 meters. They have 2,230 meters. Now you may be asking why is that important? I'm just trying to do apples to apples because we can't compare to Hamilton, Lebanon, some of these bigger cities, Piqua. I know they're further north, but I know just recently the village of Ripley was having a hard time finding somebody to replace their electric superintendent down there. And they found one finally from Hamilton. This guy is commuting from Hamilton every day. And for, I think it's $40 an hour is what he ended up getting. My worry is I have an employee that was looking to go back to Ripley and maybe looking to go back to contracting. He had spoke to me just recently about it. Was wondering why we hadn't had a raise since the beginning of the year. And I said, well, I'll go talk to the committee. And I have another paper here. I went ahead and did some legwork here for history of speaking. This is, I just kind of put it side by side, 2024, 23 last year to 2022. As you can see in this, I personally got a 50-cent raise for 1 year. Blanchester typically looks like about $2 to $3 an hour a year is what their raises are. Now they didn't give raises every year. If you go back through their council minutes and their ordinances and resolutions, they didn't give them every year. Sometimes they do them every 2 years. So when you're seeing $2 to $3 a year, that's not every year. It's not an average. So, and then if you look at the paper there, I took a screenshot of their pay scale. not necessarily, that's what it's going to be, but the actual classifications is what I was looking at too. We got electric supervisor, lineman class 1, lineman class 2, lineman class 3, line helper, and apprentice. Right now, currently, we have a lineman 1, a lineman 2, and electric superintendent position. And it's very, it's not spread out enough to where I can spread my guys out based on their qualifications. And along the pay scale, it's not, we don't really have a set pay scale, I guess. I haven't seen one recently, but I like the way they set theirs up. If you guys would take my opinion and use something similar to this, the way they've structured this, and they update this. If you look at the bottom left corner of the 2023 pay scale, it was approved January 12th, 2023. And it was originally 2021 was the effective date at the top center. So I say this, I'm trying to keep our employees here, trying to keep local employees, obviously. I know it's getting harder and harder to find people to fill these positions. And I know you guys are dealing with this village-wide with other departments, but I feel like sometimes our department has been kept in the dark or have been forgotten about in regards to raises. We're not the squeaky wheel. We're not going to come up here and complain every day about what we make, but there is a morale issue with the pay. So that with adding on maybe potentially making us pay for the insurance and all that, it's added a lot of stress to the guys down there. So what I'm asking for is a decent raise to start off 2024. We're already in almost April. But I would be willing to sit down with you guys and work on actual numbers if you would want me to. I would love to be a part of that. And if you have any questions about what we do and why we want a raise, but I did write down a few things, and I'm trying to be brief here because I know you guys got other things, but just for instance, for me and some of my employees, I've taken on some additional responsibilities since I've taken this position. We now have a GIS. Most places have their own GIS guy that takes care of all that. We do all our own updates to the map. A lot of places, they have a guy that does all the updates. Anytime we set a pole or change out something on a pole, the updates are done by me or Matt. He's kind of like my working foreman or assistant. And then I worked on a thorough update of the ordinance, the electric ordinance. I added quite a bunch of lingo to it to make it more detailed because we ran into some issues with line extensions. It was not clearly stated in there what we did and what the customer paid for. So I took it upon myself. I'm OCD about things, so I just did a whole rehaul of it. I even added in a banner ordinance. That way we aren't financially responsible for any damages to vehicles. We did have a cable break a few years back going across 125, and it hit a windshield of a car. That could have been bad. That could have been real bad. It could have hurt or killed somebody even. So, like requiring them to have insurance and all that stuff. That's part of that. And then I created a new construction service request form that you guys see on the internet on the Georgetown website. It's for the utility department to give to anybody that's building a new home or need a new service. I drew that up. That way we'd have something. And then I created a 3-phase pad mount transformer foundation document. I have all these here. I can leave them here and let you guys look at them tonight. Probably bore you, but if you want to look at them, they're here. I do the programming for electric meters, like for the net metering, for solar, anything that goes solar here. I had to learn how to do that. We didn't have somebody come in. I didn't pay somebody to come in to do that. I took that upon myself to do that. And then That's the Spotlight program on my computer. That's what I use for that. And then I was delegated responsibility of training utility employees on safe work practices, chainsaw safety, all this other, any tools that we use. I was kind of put in charge of that, not officially, but was asked to do that. So I created standard operating procedures for switching, tagging, and clearance procedures that we do. I also created a safety manual for our department. And I created employee acknowledgement forms for the employees to fill out when they get these things here. So I have an acknowledgement and receipt of, this is a policy procedure book. And then this is like for PPE, our personal protective gear that we have to wear. Each guy has one of these papers, and they have to fill out all the PPE they have, and they have to keep it and sign that they got it. That's just a protection for the village, so there's not a liability there.
Can you tell me what's the difference between the lineman two for like Dana and Chris? The hourly is 15 cents difference. Like, are they?
Well, the part of the reason that became a problem was because of the merit-based. I forget how much money it was. It was like $2 or $3 an hour, I think. I split between 4 guys. Matt got the majority of that. Matt is a go-getter. He is 100 mile an hour. I give him something, I know it'll get done. The other guys do what I ask them to do, but they're just not as self-starting. You know what I mean? I give them a task, they wait for another task. Yeah. Matt thinks ahead. So Chris got a little bit more than Dana did, or Dana got a little bit more than Chris did this past year. And because of that, but it makes it really hard. The merit-based, we're a team. Anybody's done like work like we have, like you're in your industry, you guys are a big team. It's hard to do a merit-based raise. I think of merit-based for like an institution, like a financial institution, sales-oriented goal institution. Most places that I've researched, if they do a merit-based, it's separate from like a cost of living or a guaranteed raise. If you hit, like say, City Hamilton does merit-based, but they do it, it's an addition to their raise. No lost time accidents, no call, no shows. Like they don't have any of those for a certain amount of time, or a small percentage. They have different standards they got to hit, but it has nothing to do with just the raise they're getting. That's just an extra incentive that they use. So, last year I got 50 cents. I don't know why I got 50 cents, but I don't know what anybody else got. I didn't ask, but that was split up between all the supervisors. So I feel like I'm worth more than 50 cents an hour a year. I mean, I do a lot, and I'm very self-starting and doing all this stuff. Nobody asked me to do this. They did ask me to do the training. So I had to in turn do this part where they had to sign for the handbook. And, after I learned all that, I had to do all this, which was extra work that took me away from, out actually working in the field, and just trying to stay ahead of my guys. Also, I want them to be able to progress with, get raises and have that incentive, but I also don't want to be passed up by my guys either. So.
I will tell you one of the things with the merit-based pool and what we saw after the fact last year, and Julie didn't do anything about it, was a lot of supervisors didn't use their full pool. So I believe we did a 3% pool last year.
Mm-hmm.
They took a little bit out of it, but didn't use the full pool for their employee base, which was supposed to be a conversation going forward. Let's talk about why we didn't use the full pool. So I don't think where we left it before all the turmoil last year is that this was supposed to be an education piece
Mhm.
for the supervisors, for the administrator, for everyone that was in charge of these schools, that, you know, this money is for your employees. And I think he was a direct result of that too, probably the whole team of supervisors, because that pool did not get used to its full amount, unfortunately. So that's an education piece if you decide to stick with the merit base, which you'll see on the agenda tonight. There is discussion to set a merit base pool, so that we can go back and you know, do that incentive. At least because we still have merit increase now, we don't have a step scale, we have merit, so we have to do that for sure. But as part of that, this year, like, definitely those pools need to be utilized 100%. There should not be any money left over in those pools. That makes no sense unless you're saying as a manager, all of your employees are not up to par. That pool money should 100% be utilized for your employees, however you divide it up. So that was an unfortunate learning after last year's.
Mhm.
Also, I mean, I know what you're saying, because like, it's the same way where I work, whereas I have 3 people, sometimes 4. And you're asked to do the same exact job, but then you kind of get tasked with, is that guy worth more? And it creates some animosity, and yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
Well, I have a question for you, Darius. On this scale, so as we're looking at this, kind of both of them really, but specifically the one at the bottom of what you guys make, where do you guys fall in that? Like, is it an E1A? Where does each of those guys fall? Because I mean, that kind of, because it looks like this is more of a step-based scale. And then, so if we know where you guys are currently,
I'm in between A and B. So if you start in the left column and go right, it's A through O at the top. It got cut off because if you look at the actual pay scale, they put it just at the top of.
yeah. So what I'm asking is that legitimately where you guys fall, or is that, or I mean, just because that's where you fall in the pay scale right now, should you be higher because you've been doing this for several years? And
Yeah, yes, we should be higher.
so, I mean, that's just a difficult thing for us to ascertain.
The electric superintendent that papers in there from Blanchester, he's actually left there before for more pay, and then they hired him back. So that trust issue is gone. He is topped out on their scale. He is at 61.39 an hour. I'm not expecting that to happen, obviously, but I'm just trying to show you the difference. And it's not like we're not very different than Blanchester. I know that Blanchester was used for the fire and EMS as a comp. I'm just asking you guys to use that as a comp for us. I understand, that the pay, I might be on A and B of electric supervisor in that 2024 scale. But, I'm asking maybe for F or G, and doing something like that for my guys. I mean, to get them, and more competitive pay. It's a tough world out there. And I know you guys have a tough job too. And it's not about just coming up here and getting what you want always, but I'm willing to work, if you guys can work with us on that. I even have pay in there for other departments, for police, if you guys want that. There's stuff in there for laborers, parks director. I know we don't have that, fiscal officer, street commissioner, records clerk. I guess that'd be Tara's job. I don't know, kind of like what she's doing. I don't know. It's not a whole list of everybody there, but I found everything I could find off their website. So.
And he's correct, it's very common that we compare to Blanchester, have compared to Blanchester in the past. They're very similar in size, makeup, employees, all of that, so we do use that comparison quite often. That's one of the ones. But
It doesn't stop us from looking at many other entities as well. There's others that make sense too.
That's all I have. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'll let you go forth.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks for this.
And you're welcome to stay or you're welcome to go.
Check it out. Thank you.
Do you want, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to review some things that I
Yeah, I was about
remembered?
to ask, yeah.
So Jerry's right. That was a good lead off. That was the primary project that we were working on prior to committees being busted up and people changing. So we had made it through all of the departments, I believe. We brought all of the department heads in, had dialogue around what they wanted, down to job titles, pay. And Jerry did a very good job with that as well. He brought in lots of information just like he did today. He really did his homework on that. So we wanted to get from their level kind of what they were looking for and how we could better work together to make their jobs easier and their employees happier. So we did that, but that project never saw the completion, unfortunately. And then job titles and pay scale were just overall, I think those were items that really should always be reviewed every year and kind of making sure that the bumpers on each side make sense, all of that, as well as with, if we're going to do merit or we're going to do scales, whatever we're going to do. The other thing that we were working on or had just started was the possibly going back to a step scale versus a merit. It seemed like there was consensus in wanting to do that, but then how do you do that and how do you make it fair? Because the previous step scale pretty much outdated itself a long time ago, and we had people here that weren't really, other than cost of living, they weren't really being paid efficiently that way either. I don't know if there's any real good answer. And then as well, we touched on an employee handbook, but I think we actually worked on an employee handbook for a long time, the latter part of 2022 into 2023, but then Lexipol came into the picture, and I believe that's a step in the puzzle that they were picking up. So I don't think that's anything the HR committee had to do. That's all from memory. The rest of my stuff is on the other computer, and I can't access it, but I think those definitely were the big things.
That's what I took from the last meeting was.
And I'm certain I know I still have Jerry's stuff. I have plenty of notes from those discussions with the department heads. I just need to grab the right laptop.
I think that if Kelly Jones, if we can get, I don't know if this is you or Brian or who this is, but if we can get, and I know that we have them, so the people who were on the committee before have them. I know I have it back in my records at home, but if they can get the current scales so we can review those and see where we're at, because like we don't, what we're looking at, we have Jerry's in front of us, but we need to see, we need to look across the board. Ideal world, we give everyone raises, but I don't know.
To hit on that, I had talked to Greg about that particular thing a couple weeks ago, and that's right when he was working on it, but he was, slammed. So that's on the to-do list for sure.
He's been out of the office all week on training. He'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah. So I would say we would have that shortly.
By the next meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy. It's just a saved document. It's just a matter of getting it. I was looking to see if I had anything here, but I don't.
Because what we don't want to do is give, I'll just use Jerry for example. If he got a raise, his department got a raise 2 years ago, and the street department has not got a raise for 8 years. We gotta see where everybody's at as far as to bring it up as fair as possible. Because you're right. I mean, every place we're looking at, everybody's going for money. So you got to try to keep the good ones for sure.
And prior to 2023, we had reviewed the fire department pay, we reviewed the police department pay. And then we were, as part of the whole thing last year, working on pay scales, then we were looking at the rest of the employees. So Jerry's point, Jerry's defense, I mean, they did get their merit pool partly last year, and that's not been overlooked at all, but they did not make it through the full analysis of what the pay scale should be and shoring that up, like the police department and the fire department. So those are the only two departments that had that exercise.
So answer this for me, like for your last merit raise, the electric department as a whole never got a raise, but you had how much to disperse between how many people? Do you remember?
It was like $3 or something like that, around $3.
That's per hour, so keep that in mind. So you have, not including Jerry, because he doesn't give himself a raise. In the merit pool theory, you would have linemen, and 3 linemen, and so 4 people on the hour. So let's say it was $3.50. Jerry's goal is to spend that $3.50 per person, however he so chooses. If he had a really good employee and he wanted for whatever reason, in theory, to give that person $2, that one person, then he then has $1.70 or $1.50 left to divide between the other 3 people. So it's a reward, a work versus reward based system, you know, like he was talking about Matt, and how Matt is kind of the thinker, and, you know, you don't have to stand over and give tasks, and he's just going above and beyond. And in a lot of theories, you'd want to give that person a little more because they are kind of your backup person, the person you can count on that's always, you know, going to do stuff when you're not around or whatever.
So how do you handle it when, take for example, you have the 2 linemen there that's really close in pay and probably years of service and everything else. Do you ever run into, well, you make more, you do it? And then how do you handle that? Because you can't really.
I don't have that issue in my department. There is talk though that, I've been here longer, like to me, they said this, they said it to each other. They're really respectful in that avenue, but, I know they didn't understand why Matt got $1.08 an hour. But Matt, I give him more work too, like that he'll do, he takes care of a lot of inventory and all that. So, it's helped me out a lot. And I had to explain to him that's why, but it does put us in a position where, we are a team, like in our line of work, we're our brother's keeper, have my 6, kind of like the police thing, right? I don't want this to end up being like, oh, well, I'm not gonna watch out and make sure he's safe because, something happens to him and I'll get the money. They don't think that, but I don't want that to become the environment that I'm in or that my guys are working in. I think the merit's fine. I think it could be like an addition to like a step raise, I don't know what the criteria would be for that, but you could do away with the merit and just go back to step raises and adjust the step raises accordingly. Just go over the step scale. And if you look at theirs from 23 to 24, it's the same format. They just changed the numbers in it. So you can adjust the numbers in the actual scale itself. You already have the format of it. So it's just an idea. But it was like, let's see, 50 cents plus, just $3.19. That was pretty close.
And that's
24 guys.
yeah, and that's derived from those 4 guys taking their income and adding it together. And then if we set a 3% merit increase, then you take the 3% off of that, and that gives them their pool of money. That makes sense, everyone? And then for like Jerry, just further on, and
I'll stop. For Jerry's example of himself, let's say the supervisor pool for the administrator to divvy up was $5.50. Well, what we found, and not just in that pool, but other pools, they had $5.50 to spend, but they only in total spent $2.75. That makes 0 cents in this world. Again, unless you're telling us that your employees aren't up to par, then that's a whole nother conversation that should be happening. So we found that that was happening, but it was too late that we found out. And I know it happened in the supervisor's pool, so that will not happen this year.
I'm sorry. How is this all playing with our already voted upon budget as well? I mean, that's going to be something that, and I know you were asking for it for 2024, but it may not be something that's even possible until 2025, other than what we've already established. Does that make sense?
Well, not when Natalie and Greg now, when they do the budget, they certainly work in a form of increase. That's something that's in the equation when they're putting the budget together. The thing I would strongly encourage you of, this pay scale does need to be reviewed. And honestly, I don't think you have time to wait. I mean, you wait, you're gonna lose employees. So
Anything can be modified when it comes to that budget. I mean, it can be changed. It's not like a complete black and white concrete document that's not going to change throughout the year. It's a guide to work upon, but things happen unexpectedly too, that we have to be able to maneuver. So there is definitely, there's some built in already for increases, but
Can you answer, one of the Kellys answer this question? How many total employees do we have at the village?
Oh, gosh, you're asking. 31, wasn't it?
something like that, low 30s.
Don't hold me to it.
Okay.
And for the
That's-
supervisors as well?
That was full-time, and then we have part-time too.
I don't know. Well, we have mainly part-time and fire, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I can't answer how many, probably like upwards of 10 part-time, right?
Probably. Part, small. And then you have volunteers on top of that.
They're paid differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just looking at, just like quick math, if you did, just for, like I said, for quick reasons, 30 employees, an hour, or $1 an hour, 2,080 hours. I was just doing some quick math in my head to see, because it's an infinity, but you got to keep doing this on and on and on. So.
there's no perfect answer.
No.
Because when you do it, it doesn't matter how you dissect it, then, and I've just learned this, then you're going to have this department say, well, yeah, right, exactly. You know where I'm going. So it's never ending. It definitely needs to be reviewed on a yearly basis. And no matter how you do it, the pay scale in general just needs to be reviewed every year. And then honestly, the merit or the scale at this point, whatever you guys choose, but I mean, that has to be something that's ironed out. And consistency is important. I heard Jerry say a few times, we haven't even gotten a raise this year. Well, we had a model, a pretty cool model that started last year so that wouldn't happen. So that in January, we talked about reviews and we talked about merit increases, and all of this was put out there in advance. But you know how things change, and here we are today. So that didn't work out so well. So.
Can I say one more thing? Real quick?
Yeah.
So, if you guys look, I don't think everybody has to be equal, okay? I think if you look at their pay scale, if you call them and ask them, say, hey, do you guys have any problems between your departments because of the difference in pay? I'm not saying we have to be a ton different, but there is different. You ask anybody in anybody in the village who wants to do our job, I mean, not many people want to mess with electricity. And I'm not saying only 5 of us are the only ones that can do it, but, you know, I mean, we can help the water department, we can help the street, you know. They can help us, but they can't do our job. So I'm just saying, I'm not being conceited or anything, but I'm just being matter of fact. If you look at their pay scale, you know, between electric, water, and wastewater, the sum 3, there's a big difference in top outs on those. They still make decent money. I'm not saying they can't, but a lot of it's what the fund can support too. So I know that too. I mean, that's contingent on that.
Do you know also what their total benefits package is? Like,
They're.
or is it comparable?
When I talked to the superintendent a few years ago, they had a, was it self-insured, or they had really good insurance. But they did pay a percentage. But even with paying a percentage, you know, what they made, they'd still be making way more than us, per hour. They're on call, they get an hour a day, Monday through Friday, and then 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday, straight time pay. So it's quite a significant jump on call where we get 2 hours only. Trying to think what other, they get, dental and vision are included in that also. They don't pay for that. They didn't a few years ago. I was talking about that sense, but you guys can fact check me on that if you want. Because he actually came to me in 2000. I was in charge. It was like 2017. He asked me to come work up there for him. And at that time, they were offering me $36 an hour. And that position, that's the position that they put in that memorandum in there. And that was, now it's $50 an hour for that same step. So they ended up hiring a guy from Duke Energy because I didn't want to drive up there, just to be honest. It's a 50-minute drive, so.
Do we approve minutes or do we continue? Do you have anything else that you wanted to add to the?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Not to that. But
Kelly,
we'll
do
be
you-
looking at it, Jerry, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
No, I do not have anything to
You don't
add.
have anything? Okay. Yeah, I think, like you said, Kelly, I feel like we need to look at where we're at, where we have been, because I have no idea who has received pay increases and who hasn't, and each department individually, and then go from there.
You know, like I say, Greg will have that stuff for us pretty soon, I'm
Okay.
sure. And we'll have a little bit more to go off of.
I have written down here too.
I'll have him do the benefit package and also the last date each department. Try and get that information in front of you.
Maybe before the next meeting.
Pardon?
Before the next
Do you think
meeting.
we would have those before the next
He
meeting?
should.
Okay, cool. That way we can look over.
The other thing, and I know that this is getting into our minutes, is the holiday pay that was brought up. We want to discuss holiday pay at our next meeting, probably. We had a discussion because was it the fire department that didn't get certain holidays that other departments were getting? And so we that's something that needs to be kind of on our agenda as well for determining how we play that out.
If I may on that, and I brought that to Greg, and
Joey's attention. I thought about that after the meeting, and I think each employee gets the same amount of hours, holiday hours. I don't know if the fire department's is divided up because of their 24-hour shifts, if it's different. Greg was gonna take a look at that, and I don't know if he and Joey ever got together on that or not. But that's the way it's broken up. You get so many hours per year. And with their different level of pay scales, the hours they work, they may be getting it just in a different format.
Okay.
So that's something that you should check on before you make a decision on it.
Check with them and see if they
Yes.
got into that. Okay. You said Greg and Joey.
Yes, Greg and Joey were discussing it. I know, but I don't know what the outcome is.
Okay.
You have, so I was going to throw out an idea, the election day. Our department, we get off a half a day for election day to go vote. I feel like it's pretty rewarding. I think Brown County was 27% this year on election day. It was very minimal, the people that showed up to actually vote. It's a pretty big hit where we work. We all, when we leave at noon, we all go to the polls and we get that knocked out, and we appreciate it every year. So I think that's something to consider for the village of Georgetown.
How would we, do we make a motion at a meeting to do that? Is that how we would do that?
I think it's something we'd probably have to bring up like with everybody, right? Like to discuss it, but
You would have to, from this group, you would want a consensus or at least discuss it, make sure it makes sense.
mhm.
And then somebody can make a motion at a regular council meeting. You can either decide if you want it for 2023 or you want to start it in 2024. And I think that's it.
Wouldn't it be something Joe would need to go off and work?
And he would have to draw more
Yeah,
and stuff on it to change the policy manual.
Right.
So it would be a half an hour? What
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, we all work a half a day and then,
How
Do
will
it.
it impact your police and fire then? Do you do anything different for your police and fire? Same question there.
it is a good question.
They're always the rare breed.
And your sewer, right? Your sewer also.
Well, they can adjust their schedules accordingly. Reporting is a big thing, testing and reporting.
I'm just throwing it out there.
No, it's a good point. You know, naturally, we don't have that in my place, so when we're fine with shutting the doors and heading back the next day.
I think it's a good idea. Explore how to do it.
Add that to your list and you guys could put that agenda out at some point or you
I could talk to both chiefs and see if it's something that they could easily work out, or if it would just be, it just can't be done, I guess.
Yeah, because it would have to go across the, I mean, you would have to go
Yes.
across the board then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or other people maybe could take advantage of like 4 hours extra pay or something, or built-in pay or something. Election
Maybe
day
that could be
pay.
an exception,
Yeah,
like tweak it a bit.
or maybe get the first half off or something different to keep the full-time day going. Does that make sense? Like, you show up, I don't know, it's probably a bad idea.
I feel like monetary would be
Probably the easiest.
the easiest, yeah.
For all involved.
Agreed. Okay, is there's nothing else, I guess we should approve minutes.
Let's see.
Can we do these separately or can we do them, okay, so separately?
State the date of the meeting and then.
Okay. If you want to look over the human resources meeting minutes from September 20th, 2023.
If there aren't any edits to that meeting, someone can entertain a motion to approve.
Even if we're not on the committee, right, we're just.
You're just approving what's gonna go into the file, you're not approving that anything's correct
I'll
or
make a
not.
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor? Yeah. Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we're gonna look at the human resources meeting for the February 29th, 2024. If you wanna look over those.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we don't have anything else, I don't think, right? Nothing else to discuss before we adjourn. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can she make the motion?
Can I make the
Or
motion?
do we-
Can I make the motion? Yeah,
She can, okay.
okay, cool.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.